Good morning. Good morning. Hold on, let me close the door. So it's not noisy. Forgetting details. Okay. Hello. It's Paint Fumes live stream Thursday morning. I'm also known as the artist Lynell. Ooh, Jim, Mary Beth, hello, good morning. Glad to have you here. I've switched around my camera setup again, back to having my work flat instead of on the easel behind me. So we're gonna be doing some different work today with that. And I had mentioned in the last stream that I was going to start doing a transfer print on here, and that did not end up happening. I thought I could get it started yesterday so that today I could do the reveal, but yesterday ended up being taking my little fuzzy studio assistant into the vet, and he started new medication and he was wobbly, so that, and then working in the evening, I just didn't get it done. But so today I can actually start. Before I finish this, I will put down my new element and walk it through a little better. I did kind of demonstrate this before, but I didn't do a very good job of it. And I think I know what some of the problems were. Oh, Watson, yeah, he's okay. Some possibly either infection or stones in the bladder or kidney, so he'll be okay. We just need to figure out exactly what it is and get it treated correctly. So yeah, my little guy, he's doing all right. I got him a little window perch, and he's in there in the studio right now. Got him a proper place to sit in here to oversee everything. Yeah, hopefully it's not any stones, but we will find out and do the best we can to get him feeling better. I have printed out a few options for putting down the transfer print. And I decided I wanted to use an image of a crow, because crows represent transformation and change, and I like that idea for this piece. So I got a few possibilities here. This image is kind of neat. I do like that it's sort of a bunch of birds flying, and I would probably use one side or the other maybe. It's not really big, and I think one of the issues that I would need to reprint this versus what I have now, because based on when I tried this earlier, what was it, maybe 2 months ago, maybe in March for a stream, and it didn't turn out well. I think it was the same issue as I would have here, where the image isn't saturated enough, the ink. These are printouts from a laser printer, I have a black and white laser printer, and that's what we need for transfer, but it's this very grayed tone, and I would really need to kind of crush the blacks and get it much more saturated to get it to transfer nicely and really have a clear image. But that is I could do that, and that is a possibility, to have these guys somewhere on there. I have a more detailed close-up of a crow just sitting, and that's possibility of always remembering. I have to remember that whatever we're looking at here, if I use it for the print, it's going to be actually a mirror image of this when it goes down like that. So especially using text of any sort, really important to remember to print it out mirror image backwards. But yeah, so possibly a crow like that, or I have a couple images that are a bird and some tree branches. And these are a little better. I cranked up the blacks before I printed these up. And I like them. I think the question would be, like, how well would they show up? Because they're, kind of thin. Do they carry enough weight, I guess, would be the question. So it would be, if I did this one, I could have the branches kind of coming out from almost behind her, maybe. And that could be kind of neat. I really like this one. The crow's kind of looking down. There's something sort of almost introspective and thoughtful about it. And that one would be more likely to come, or the branch would be coming out from like the edge of the paper someplace, or even just from behind some graphics. I would not want it to overlap with the black lines of the tiger particularly, but it could be coming like where it would be right along here. So that's a possibility too. And I print a couple things ahead of time so I can kind of like imagine where they might be and decide if, well, for something like this, I can still mirror it if I want it coming out, if I wanted it to come out, say, this side, where it was coming out from maybe behind her shoulder, or I could make it a little smaller, a little bigger. So always options like that. But yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards one of these two. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue some work here. We'll get that set up. We'll get these set up, whichever one. Before I finish the stream, that'll probably be about the last thing that I'll do so that I can let it sit and dry. And then I don't want to necessarily leave it sit until Monday for, I don't know if that's as good of an idea. I don't know. I guess I'll have to look it up, see if it really matters. If I need to remove it before Monday's stream, then what I would do is record it and then just incorporate it into it and play it later, like in an edited video or something. So we can still see the reveal. Hopefully it'll actually work. But also, if I'm going to use any of these, I'll cut them closer to the image. I could do even closer than what I'm doing now, because the way that when I apply the medium that it will adhere the ink to, you will get like a line of the paper where the paper is. So trying to control how much of that. I don't want there to be like a hard edge where I don't want it to be. If that makes sense. So just keeping that in mind too, and having less paper to try to remove after it's dry also, because that's a bit of a process in and of itself to try to remove the paper after the transfer process is done. So, yeah, I haven't done this. I tried it back in, I think, March on a piece, and it did not work, and I think I ended up pretty much covering up the parts that I had attempted to put down because it wasn't clear what it was. So, that being the case, it's been a while since I've had a successful go at a transfer, where I've done a transfer on something. So now I can actually tell a little bit better how this would lay out if I put it down. And I could always trim, if I know like this is where I want it, I'd probably trim this little branch so it'll look like it's going behind her head. Perhaps something along those lines, even moving it. I'd like to see some of more of the branch, so I don't want to like take it too up where I would stop it there. Something along these lines, perhaps. And I'm not going to put it down here because I'm planning on adding the mushrooms down here still. Right about there, I think, is where they're going to end up. Okay. So these will come later. These will be towards the end of the process. This is a piece I cut out last stream that I still think I'm probably going to use. It's like construction fence boundary area. I think I'm still going to incorporate that in here as another collage piece. I'll trim out most of the black on here. And then decide where that will go. Okay, that's definitely something that will like be, it's partially covered as things go on. Maybe right about there. No, oh, thought I'd lost my adhesive. Won't be long before I need to get some more. Okay, so gonna use my brains this time. It's been known to happen once in a while. I'm going to grab a little plastic palette, and I'm going to put the glue in that instead of getting my fingers all into it, and brush it on. Save myself some headache and messiness. So, crummy brush is fine for that. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Let's give that a nice little coating, especially around the edges. Boy, it's a nice day today. Love being able to have the windows open in here when I'm working. Sun shining, I can hear birds. A little bit of a cool breeze feels nice. This is my kind of weather. Right this moment where it's like, I think we're just around 60 degrees. I know it's gonna get warmer today, but right now, it's perfect. Probably end up going to get groceries and whatever else during the day today. I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. Okay, so I got that piece up here on the top. Too cold for you, Mary Beth, I understand. I love this. I run hot. I'm always hot, and it's funny because my partner and I will be sitting together on the couch, and I'll be wearing, like, lounging around. I'll be wearing a tank top and shorts, and he'll be next to me wearing long sleeves, long pants, and under 1 or 2 blankets. And that's just any given day. Just never, I'm always warm. Just never fails. Okay, let me see here. Do I want to add any more collage stuff, or is that gonna be it? Here are some other little bits that I'd pulled before. I really love this little Snap Crackle Pop image. There's it focusing a little bit. It's like very vintage little guys. I don't know, I mean, as far as any type of meaning or metaphor, they don't quite translate into here outside of just looking fun, but I can probably, I might hold on to that for another project that fits a little better. And just some neat colors. Since I know mushrooms are coming in, let me see. Over here. So adding in some green and texture behind them might be all right. Either there or on this side, be very small here. I think I like the idea of having this over here. which case I need to trim it a little bit. Mark on there where her leg is, and give that a little trim. This image is from some article that was talking about desserts. I don't remember what exactly, but it's as I recall it, it's like a sundae cup and something like a mint chocolate chip something or other in there, shake or ice cream. But I like that. It's like something sweet, but it's sort of subtle. You don't necessarily know what it is. And it gives us this nice color and texture. And a little bit more glue. Where did I put the glue? It's very me to lose the thing that was in my hand literally a minute ago. Jim, you like it cool. Long sleeve flannel shirt weather. Yeah, there I am. Mary Beth, the rest of my family are hot boxes. Yeah. Yeah, it gets hot. I used to be always cold. Forever. And then just maybe 7-8 years ago, we completely switched out of the blue. And who knows? Who knows why or what, but now what do I do with a brush? Ah, there we go. I tell you, some days. Some days. Okay, so I'm setting that little piece over on my paper palette that's over here to do the gluing on it. Just then I can kind of be a little messy with the application and not worry about it. All right. There we go. Gives me a minute to position it when I have it nice and wet and just sort of work it on with a thin coat over the top. Kind of work out air bubbles. Get it nice and set. And there is a little, thought it was a brush thing, but it was the cat hair. That definitely happens around here. All right, I'll set this brush over here so I don't mix it up. These are my my watercolor brushes are here. Not certain if I want to do anything more. I thought about maybe doing a little bit more with the face. Just a little bit more like refining, perhaps, but not too much. Now, white watercolor is just basically transparent. I do have a little dab over here of white gouache in my palette, which is still a little bit transparent, but not as much. I'm going to just kind of reinforce a few highlights. I think you can certainly tell that I'm not a purist about working with any of my media. It's always, ooh, let's see what happens if I put this on there. So yeah, I'm not gonna, I know some people don't think that if you're gonna do watercolor, putting some gouache or something else on it is kind of cheating, but well, you know, clearly that's not my concern. Not necessarily worried about how I get there. when it comes to my paintings. I mean, the journey is kind of the fun part. So in the sense, like, yeah, I want to enjoy the journey of getting there, but I'm not going to have expectations about how it happens. So giving her some extra little bits of reflection. And maybe some little reflections in the eyes. I kept the eyes, like normally that's going to be like one of your most detailed parts of the face, and I like to keep them a little bit more vague. And that does a couple things. It kind of allows a person to insert themselves a little bit into the picture if it's not such a specific person. And that, I think that happens a lot if somebody is looking directly at you. They're really engaging directly with you. That creates like a different kind of, like, this is a person that, I don't know. I'm not sure that anything I'm saying is making sense. Just blathering half-formed thoughts of Lynell Ingram on a Thursday morning. And maybe I'll do a little bit of a darker line on the upper lid, just a little bit. Oh, I'm a little shaky today. Every now and again I have a really shaky day. I don't know what makes it one way or the other. Swear I hadn't eaten, but I have. Okay. So I'm kind of giving my shadows, my darkest spots, just a little bit more definition. Okay. And if anything, maybe just a touch of, I think it's like a warm pink, a little warm pink back into the face too. Get some something like this maybe. it doesn't matter what medium I'm working with. I will find a way to put my hands in it every time. All right, a little bit on the end of the nose. I'm gonna need to start thinking about, I have agreed to put work up in August in a local library here, and so I have to figure out the space that I have to work with, what pieces I'm going to hang, make sure that those are prepared and framed. And the worst thing about it is, it's like, oh, I have until June something to give them the information for what I'm going to put up there. So in my brain, being an ADHD person, it's like, oh, that's far away. I have a lot of time, but I also then forget that this is a thing that's happening completely. That is something that I do need to be thinking about, because if I need to get frames or cut mats, I need to be moving on that pretty soon. And being that it's in a public library, I will probably not take a lot of the pieces from this series where they're not all like nude. They're all women. They're not all nude, but they're very emotional and feminist in the angle for sure, and mental health stuff, and maybe some more mature themes, even though there's nothing like blatantly necessarily in most of them upsetting or anything, depending on the person, I guess. But just because it is a library, I'm thinking of leaning more towards leaning much more towards like the portraits that I've done, especially from the Inspiration Project. But those are all very small pieces, so I'm going to need to figure out framing then a bunch of them to fill the space. I have just like 3 or 4 of them framed, but and do it in an affordable way. So one of my tricks for that is that using pre-bought frames and then cutting a custom mat to fit within it. If I can do that, I definitely prefer to do that. But I'm not, I need to sit down and work it all out. I need to start doing that. I am procrastinator extraordinaire. I'm going to start like kind of filling in some areas of this tiger, not all of it, but some of it, and then it will probably get a little bit covered up again. So let me see. Do I want to use the markers or just paint? Use some markers for parts of it. I saw a movie this week. Um, Pretty interesting. Just something I put on when I had some time in the evening to just relax and um, disconnect a bit. And it was called Livid, and it's a French movie, just a few years old, I think. Kind of haunted, not really haunted house. It is in the category of a horror movie. It is crazy and weird because it starts out as like one thing and then it becomes different things and it keeps getting weirder and stranger. The last act of, like, it starts out as like the setup is these young people are going to break into this house of this woman who is basically a vegetable. A terrible thing to say, but that's what the setup is in the movie. She's unconscious. She's very, very old, and they think she's unaware of what's around her, but the rumor is that there's a treasure hidden in the house, so they're going to break into this house and try to find the treasure. That's the setup. Everything starts going very badly, very wrong, of course, as it should in such a movie. But it just keeps getting weirder. And if I would recommend the movie, it's hard to say if I'd recommend it because it's not the best. It's got some great scenes, and how weird that the directions that it goes in that are super weird are fun sometimes and definitely unexpected, but I don't know, it's not the best. So yeah, I don't know. If you like weird French movies, what the heck? My experience with French movies, especially in that genre, has been that they are kind of into what I would call torture porn, like very brutal, horrible, horrible things, and I don't really love them. And I thought that I didn't know if that movie was going to end up being that. I'm glad it wasn't. But yeah, that is one of the categories of movies that I don't care for at all. And I still am fascinated by my own fascination with that genre in general. And there's a documentary in process where they're talking about the tie-in together between horror movies and mental health and like the weird connection. And I'm really like looking forward to if that makes it the release. I'd like to see that. I'm very curious about it. Because I can see some things, like the obvious things, like it's a safe space to process fear and negative emotions that maybe we have a hard time processing and defining in reality. Because it's not reality, so it's not really threatening. So there's that description and argument, and I could see that. It makes sense. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's just the fact that they fascinate me fascinates me. Which I imagine sounds weird. But why does anything that interests us? I guess, I mean, that's a whole thing to get into and examine. Why do we like anything that we like? Is it because it's something that is familiar and we grew up with, maybe? or it's novel and therefore it tickles our fancy because it's novel and different. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I might do some. I love psychology. I love learning about how the brain works and how our minds do things and process information. So I might, if I remember after this, kind of look that up because I do wonder, what is it? I think that could be a fun exploration. Wonder if anybody watching ever thought about that kind of thing. Why do you like the things you like? Is it purely visceral? Or is there more to it than that? Just something to think about. I mean, the same question, I guess, goes into why are we who we are? A combination of information stored, genetics, whatever. Oh. Kind of fun to think about. All right. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, wandering around in my brain. I probably haven't had enough coffee today. That's definitely got to be my issue. More coffee helps everything. All right. So I added a little bit more watercolor, a little bit more collage, and a little bit more paint. I'm going to do some more paint yet. And some colored pencils. Move this out of the way so that I don't stick my hand in it. That's definitely the way that I do things. I guess continuing on with a line of thought. Thinking about like change, because that's in transformation, which is the reason that I chose to incorporate a crow into this piece as a transfer print element once we get a little further along. As I lose everything around me. Okay. How do you handle moving on from something whatever it is. Like if you have something that you're a part of, or something who you are, something in your life that you know that you need to, or have decided to separate from, part ways from, whatever it is, and you're not sure if you're ready for it, to make that kind of a change. Does that make sense? Because I guess I'm talking about it perhaps in terms of like maybe a job. If you have a job that you know, like you took it on to be maybe a temporary situation, and now you're going to, you know, you want to move on from it, it's time, but you have a lot of resistance about it to move on. Maybe fear. Is it just like jump in, maybe? Just do the thing? Just move on to the next thing? I don't think I'm being clear at all. Again, definitely not enough coffee today. What about things like establishing healthy boundaries? That's a tough one. If you need to, with other people or with a job or any other kind of relationship. Rip off the Band-Aid, maybe. Or just figuring out how to make that call at all. I just realized I really love my I really like using these Posca paint markers. I only just now realizing that the setup of pencils I have is also Posca. I did not even realize that. That's funny. I've had them for a couple years. I don't use them a lot. They're all still very full sized, and that's a Mitsubishi thing. How about that? Do these say Mitsubishi? They do. Fascinating. Cars, TVs, and art supplies. I appreciate the variety. Okay. Let's see. I think another thing that I want to do. Well, okay, there's one element I do want to paint in still. And then I'm going to add in some little bits of gesso too on this piece. Love their pencils. Yeah, I don't use them a ton. I don't know why. I've just never really been a big colored pencil person, but I do like to use it for like little touches here and there. And that's kind of the main thing I do with it, but you know, I could certainly explore more with it. I do enjoy doing that. In case you didn't realize, I'm a big fan of exploring things and trying stuff. I'm sure it's fairly obvious at this point. Okay. I use all numbers in their lead line, mechanical pencils for number 10 in the wood. Yeah, Jim, you had sent me a number 9 or number 10 Mitsubishi pencil. I have it in my pencil jar over here, and that's a really nice one. Really, really gets it's nice, soft, and dark. So yeah, I agree with you on that. There was a period about a year and a half ago where somebody was hiring me to do pencil portraits. Just graphite grayscale portraits of members of their family on small sheets, and I was just using, I have a set of B's all the way from H to 8B pencils, and then I have some random H's that I've bought to fill in gaps too, up to 8H. And that's what I was using for that. And it is not my favorite thing to do, like pencil portraits. It's very straightforward, but it's good. Like, I don't mind also in the sense that it's more like doing a skill study to me than like going in here and trying to create something with a lot of meanings and intentions outside of creating, a work for somebody else that's something very specific, an image of a person from a photograph. I don't mind doing that. It is not my favorite thing to do. Before I put the pencils away, let me put the tiger's nose here. Okay, I think that's better. It feels, is this just the camera picking it up? A little off kilter. This guy up here, which maybe doesn't matter because it will be, I'm going to still continue covering up parts of it, but, oh, there's my cat. He's here and he's talking. Still have over an hour to go till it's lunchtime, mister. So I have to relax. Ooh. Drafting lead holders are what I like. The steel ones with a little heft. Yes, I have. Oh my gosh. If it's here. Is it here? One of my pencil jars. Yeah, where is it? I have one somewhere that I've had since high school, and I love it, but I think that it needed to be refilled, and I put it someplace safe, of course. I'm not sure right at this moment. Is it in here? Nope. Yes, I have one. Oh my gosh, I have one since I was in high school, and I love it so much, and I completely forgot it existed until right now. It might be in a drawer in my closet, and my closet is terrifying. The one in this room that I store stuff in. It is terrifying, and that will be one of my projects to hit next, is to organize that space, which it's that cartoon closet where you open the door and it's just like that wall of stuff that looks like it's going to fall on you. That's very much what my art closet is. Koh-i-Noor or Faber-Castell drafting lead holders. Okay. I don't remember what brand the one that I had was. And it's got to be around here somewhere. Stoudier from your animation days from the early 80s. The new ones are too short and fat. Oh, interesting. Well, the one I have would be from mid-90s, probably. And I haven't shopped for one in a while. I have so many pencils of all different sorts, and you know, they all have a purpose somewhere for something, but sometimes they last a long time because you don't need that particular purpose all the time for what I'm doing necessarily. And my cat is trying desperately to figure out how to walk over here and get on my art, but there's a lot of stuff in his path, so he's been stymied. Hello, Mr. Watson. You trying to say hello to everybody? Can't figure out how to get through? I'm sure he's going to figure out how. If anything, he is a problem solver. Definitely have to give him that. All right, what was I doing? Oh yes, now I remember. Maybe I'm going to get out. Maybe I'll use both of these. I have some yellow oxide and some cadmium-free orange. And I'm going to paint, well, no, I don't want to use orange because I have that here for this element. Oh, here he is. And say hi to everybody. Can you say hi? Hey, Stinker. He's bored and he's coming around to see what's going on. Right? You want to get your paws in the art? That's my good boy. That's my good boy. My very sweet little fuzzy studio assistant. He always tries to help me paint. Right? Yes, he does. Sorry, kitty break. And the cloud of cat hair that comes with it. There you go, you can go that way. All right. Don't go over there. My oil paint palette's over there, and I don't cat hair. Okay, don't need him getting into my oil paint palette. Did buy new ones from Jet pens for multiple colored lead colors. Didn't remember the brand. They work great. I guess I didn't realize you could even buy colored lead, but I suppose that makes a lot of sense. Don't like that's okay. I don't even notice that kind of stuff often. Like somebody said to me the other day, dotting their T's and crossing their I's, and then they stop themselves and they're like, oh, I just messed it up. And if they hadn't stopped and said I messed that up, never would have connected in my brain that they'd messed it up. Like my brain's just like, oh yeah, I get that. It's also something I would say. Okay. Back to the plan at hand. Maybe some chromium oxide green, perhaps. It is opaque, and I like that. Or we could go with a light phthalo green could be nice. All right. That color's kind of in here. I'm going to real quick before I put anything in here, I'm gonna just look at where we are and mark a couple lines. Just so I know. Where I'm going with this shape. Okay. It's kind of hard to see that line, but that's fine. It's going to be all covered up. Oh, these tops. I really like golden paint, but I hate these tops. See how this is split? Is that in focus? It just splits like that. And oh my gosh, that makes me so mad. I hate it when this happens. I hate their lids. I really, really hate their lids. Oh man. And it's just gonna break off. I'm not gonna be able to open it. Unless I have, do I have pliers at the ready? Goodness sake. Some days, I tell you, some days. There we go. This I don't have a solution for. I have no idea if there is a solution to this happening. But man, it just feels like such cheap garbage, but their paints really are, I like them. But I often end up buying like a Liquitex or something because I don't have this kind of issue with the tops. And even this paint that I have over here, this is another one that did that. I think there's some dried paint in there to kind of maybe hold it in place, but if I give it a good turn, it'll break there too. Why don't things work the way that I expect them to? The way that they're supposed to? A lid, it should turn without breaking. That is the entire function of it, right? The entire purpose. If you can't design your lid correctly, there might be a problem with your product. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Let's see, because that thing was not quite on there, right? I got a big chunk of dried garbage here. All this stuff that's like hard and dried was in there, blocking it up. I'm still gonna have, I'm so irritated. Another studio rag towel. And I have one more hand towel that I noticed has got a hole in it, so that's going to become another studio towel. Love having dedicated studio towels. Oh my god, my cat is in the bathroom yelling and singing songs. But it also implies that I'm going to have to go buy some more hand towels, like actual hand towels, pretty soon. This gunk. Why? This sort of thing. Not what I want to have to deal with when I want to go paint. I'm just using my needle nose pliers to try to dig it out. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'd like to get enough of it out of the way. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that nasty, nasty. Ah, why? Darn lids. Okay. I'll use a paper towel for this one. I have my paint water over here, so just dipping a towel into that a little bit so I can clean this off and not completely ruin my pliers for now. I mean, they're not in great shape. You can see I've had these a really long time. The handle's coming apart. But they're kind of like dedicated studio pliers. The cork may hold enough. Oh, okay. Any leftover wine corks around? I don't. Not a big wine drinker. And quite frankly, if I do, I'm not classy. I'm not that classy to buy a lot of the cork wines. Like, screw bottle's fine, thank you. Yeah, it's fine. But that's a good idea, corks. Good idea. And I'd gone to, I was in Blick the other day. This darn thing. Just for now, you stay there. Okay. I was in Blick the other day, and I wanted to get little cups that clip to my, that I can clip to my oil painting palette, where I can have one be, you know, my oil, medium, and a little bit of some paint thinner, the Turpenoid or whatever I've got in the other one. And they have them, little clip-on ones, but the ones that they have, they're nice little jars with little, it's like a set of two connected, and it'll slide on the edge and hold like a clip. And it stay attached to your palette, so you don't have to worry about it like falling off or sliding around if you move anything. But they don't have lids. And it seems like that would be a really, really obvious thing that you would want to have a lid for. Again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just crazy about these things and don't know any better, but it seems like you'd want to have a lid. So I did spend just a few seconds yesterday looking online for like a generic lid that's that size. And then I see that they do sell little ones like that with lids on some place such as Amazon for like $6 or something, but I already bought the one, so I don't want to buy another. It seems wasteful. So if I can just find a couple of lids for, under $1, I might try that. Of course, I'll find them online for under $1 and it'll be $12 shipping. And that's usually the way it goes. I mean, I suppose I could maybe donate to them and get the other ones. They weren't expensive. I wonder if the art studio that I work at a couple nights a week would want them. Although I think most of the students in the oil painting like bring their own materials and such. Okay. So I'm painting using a filbert brush to paint kind of like a snake is the idea. And I'm just doing kind of thick curvy lines, and then I'll go back in when it's dried and put a little bit of a pattern on it. And here's part of where I'm going to cover up a little bit of this guy. I'm going to go in front of him there and then behind his ear up here. And continue it up here. Ah, shaky. Hi, Watson. Time is it? 11. You have an hour to go. It's not lunchtime yet. Think our cat. You'll be fine. It's mostly that he's bored. IKEA has lids for different... Ooh, I should try there. I'll check on their website. I think shipping costs from IKEA are ridiculous, but there's one really close to me, so I can just go there if I see things I need. Because I did use IKEA for quite a few items with my studio redo. It's like a thing to go there. But, I mean, sometimes they just have the things that you need. The best solution to a problem. For the best price. Because it is possible that I will get around to when organizing my closet. I might need to get some shelving that, like, I have some really cheapo, like, shelves that I bought from Home Depot for about $10, like garage shelves, but they're garbage. But an adventure. IKEA is always an adventure. Here's the tip. It's going to be less so going into summer, but if you can go there on a weekday, relatively early in the day, it's not busy and it's quite pleasant. But trying to go there on a weekend, especially shortly before kids are going off to college, nightmare. Like, don't do it if you can avoid it. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I might go there to see, because you can get shelves there, although I'm not sure that would be necessarily cheaper than just going to like a Home Depot or Lowe's and having just wood cut. Not exactly certain, but yeah, that's something I will figure out. Since I just spent some money doing this space, which was definitely my priority, I'm not in a big hurry to go and invest in something else like that. The one in Schaumburg is better than Milwaukee. Oh, really? I've never been in the one in Milwaukee because it didn't open until I was no longer living there. But I could see coming from like where you live that it might be like either direction probably isn't too much further than the other. I hate the drive though from Schaumburg out there. It's just, there's no great way to do it. There's bottlenecks and traffic getting across, is it the Fox River? I think. I don't remember. Like there's only a few good ways to go past it. And I mean, there is the expressway, and gosh, I hate expressway driving. I do it when I have to, but I do hate it. Yeah, hate the drive as well. The best trick is to just make it on a day when most people are at work and there's nothing happening. That's the best trick you have. I have these little dies, opaque dies. I bought them when I've mentioned rabbit holes before, right, on here. I bought these when I was interested in doing resin, like resin pours and molds and stuff. And I even did a resin coating on my bathroom counter. That's a story. So I had bought some little dies like this to color the resin with, because resin is clear otherwise. Well, you know what? Thought I'd break them out and see what happens if I put them on some watercolor paper. When I've used dyes and inks before, it seems like I gotta be a little bit careful with them. I think I'm gonna need a needle to clean that up with. They will go through the paper very easily. No highways of Schaumburg. Yeah, I know you can take, like, you can go through Marengo and get on 90. It's like out of the way, but it ends up being a little faster. And I remember doing that. I used to live out in Hebron for a while, which is a very, very tiny town. And I was working on the other side of Schaumburg, another suburb here, Itasca, for a while. And that commute, I would think I'd get on 47, take it all the way to 90 and take 90 in. And oh, what a nightmare. It ended up stressing me out so much because of the traffic and the aggressiveness. Because people are just nuts and they don't care, especially if they're very comfortable with that, doing the very fast highway driving very aggressively. I got so stressed out for it that I started leaving like 20 minutes earlier so that I could take local roads instead of getting on the expressway, which was like stressful in its own way too. Like in a whole nother sense, it was super stressful to do that. Ugh. Just traffic's the worst. And I'm in the heart of the suburbs of Chicago, and there are these advantages of conveniences. Like there's probably 30 grocery stores within a 2-mile radius of where I live, and every ethnic store and grocery store and shopping, as long as it's a chain store, it's all here. But the traffic, the drivers, the lack of culture, and it's really hard for anybody to get anything that isn't a chain store going because of the cost of real estate and stuff. Illinois drivers, yeah. We have a reputation, don't we? About to be more if the Bears move out there. Yes, Bear Stadium potentially coming right down the street from me here in Arlington Heights. They've applied to take down the racetrack, the buildings already. Yes, that will be interesting. I don't know. It will be bad, I'm sure, when there's games. It will be Sorry, I'm like looking for stuff and thinking at the same time. It's always hard. It could be very frustrating, especially when it's days that like games are happening. But there's only, the way I figure it, there's what, 16, 17 games? Like some ink spilled in my container there, so that's what's over everything. It's like 16 or 17 regular season games, I think. Something like that. And only about half of them are played at the home stadium. But I'm sure that they would use the stadium for other big concerts and events and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, this this town is fine. Maybe you'd feel that way about any place. Like every place you live, small town, city, suburb, small city, pros and cons always. I think the one thing I wish is that I knew more artists in the area, like more people who are doing fun things and creative things and were creative around me. Because I'm not from here. I don't, man, these are, is it these tabs that are just, these little spouts aren't working? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know a lot of people here in my neighborhood. I kind of know some neighbors, but that just seems to be an issue. Yeah, artist. Yeah, I know. Back out in Harvard, Artist Desert too. At least there's the Star Line that they've turned into artist spaces. So that's something. There could be express trains to Arlington Heights for Bears games, I hope. Not a football fan myself. Commuting to Chicago, yeah. There are express trains that run to Arlington Heights from the city at different times. Where did I put my jar of... Okay, here we go. There are, and I'm sure they'll add more. And that's one of the biggest advantages to the location here is that that won't work. I'm trying to find something that I can like dip into these little guys. The train station goes right to it. That is the advantage to where they want to move here. And it's right off of 59 Expressway. Or 290, 59, whatever. They all merge together at some point. I try one of these little guys. I don't know if that will quite... Like the point will go in there, but not the whole thing. So maybe I can shake some ink into there and see what happens. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And draw a line with it. A little bit. I think I was hoping for something a little bit more organic. But I'm even right now experimenting with what I can do with these little ink guys, dye bottles. What can be done with it? Maybe not much. Maybe, which is fine. Okay. If that's the case, let's get out some gesso, and I'm going to do some light application of some gesso, some really heavy bodied stuff, because I'm going to want that and this to be dry before I do the transfer print, before I put that on. So I don't want to lay it on too thick because that will take a long time to dry, but just little bits here and there, because I like to kind of have some texture that lets things fall away a little bit. I'm going to keep my weird little quote there mostly readable. I really love this palette knife. I would like to get one like this with a point that's a little smaller, but I really like to work with this. I think it allows like just enough control. Another thing, this is like a acrylic medium, a gesso, so it will dry pretty quickly. And like shaking like crazy, I don't know why. I imagine Metra having a Chicago Bears vinyl wrap train, probably, the way the CTA does inside out graphics on L cars and buses. Probably. Maybe, unless the city has something to do with it, because I think Chicago's not happy that the Bears want to leave the city proper. So that all will be interesting to see how it plays out. I understand that the city of Chicago wants to add some kind of like fee on just prices of tickets if they move. Kind of like paying back the city for investments that they've made to Soldier Field over the years. I don't know. Isn't our channel, we don't have to talk about sports. I do actually kind of enjoy football, but I'm not a big sports person. Definitely not a big sports person. Like these days there's like basketball happening like every day. My partner's a big sports person, and I don't know. I know some people that don't care for much sports will like basketball because it's fast, but it's boring. They're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. Just because it's fast, it doesn't mean it's not the same thing. And baseball, oh, can't. Just can't with baseball. Like sitting through a baseball game would be like akin to torturous for me. Like just no, I don't make me. Can I bring a sketchbook? Yeah, none of that, please. So this layer of like kind of messy gesso application a little bit lets me like create a unifying factor. And I'll probably even go over this with other stuff a little bit too. But yeah, allows some things to be adjusted in terms of what's drawing the eye. Oh my gosh, why am I so shaky today? Okay. Just gonna throw a little bit more in the corner here, a little bit. And that might be just about it for the gesso application. I like working with this stuff because it's just this nice thick heavy, like plastery kind of texture. Allows you to really control and carve out exactly where it's going. When I watch football, I feel like I'm cheering on the Gladiators. Just feels wrong to me. Probably says a lot about my mental state. Well, thank you for love the piece I'm working on. Thank you so much for that. I definitely get what you're saying with the Gladiator thing, because it is pretty brutal. Like, people get seriously injured. It very much is a good comparison. All right. Are we dry on the snake body? And I'm actually probably going to use some of these little, maybe one of these smaller paint markers, paint pens, whatever, that I bought. I've used them quite a bit on my set of the 6 small paintings that I've worked on the stream. I use these quite a bit and tested them out on those and really enjoy them. They're a lot like the Poscas, but very fine points and lots of colors, which is fun. So let me think about, I could use a darker purple, or I could use a lighter purple, and then it'll be less contrast, and so it won't draw as much attention. I'm thinking for creating a pattern inside of the body of the snake. And if I go too detailed and too contrast in it, it will draw a lot of attention. So I might go with something more closer in tone to what the actual body of it is. So ooh, this is one I hadn't used yet. Look at that. Clean tip. It's sticky. Got something on it. Probably whatever's on my hands right now. Yeah, that should work. Let's see. Let's start down here maybe. You probably noticed there's no head on my snake. I just didn't think that needed necessarily that for this piece. And one other thing that I will do too is I am going to be drawing some elements that are going to kind of overlap through her body here. And I was looking up some like symbolism stuff. I'm going to use a combination of white jasmine flowers and chamomile flowers because they are symbols of protection. So I think that would be nice on there. The way the NFL handled the CTE problem makes me disgusted. Yes. And there's a lot of, part of that being also the baked in racism that affects like almost everything. It's just awful. Agree on that 100%. A lot of things they could certainly do better for their players and as an organization at all. And truly, probably any of the sports organizations in some extent could definitely improve what they're doing. There, I think that works. It's a little subtle, kind of bit of pattern lines. I'm not getting too precious about it. It's a little messy. And the big paintings that I'd done, well, it's not totally dry, so I think maybe I'll finish this part of it later. Over here, still a little tacky, so the marker doesn't quite grip it. Okay. There's a pencil in here somewhere. If you could see, the entirety of this desk is just all the supplies I may possibly need all the way down to the side. It's a little chaotic. But it's nice to have the space to do that. Many reasons football equals nope. Totally understand. Okay. So I have some... All right. Flowers are not my forte, so we'll do a little bit of, that's why I'm starting with just a pencil and try to get some nice drawings a little bit, maybe. We'll try. I don't know how well doing this part of it is going to show up on the camera, but yeah, I never had much desire to draw flowers or really spend much time with them. I don't know. Bit of a tomboy, I guess. Just never interested me. Also, I was never a horse girl. Isn't that kind of a thing for kids growing up? That was my sister. She was big time into horses. I never really understood that, just didn't make sense to me, I guess. And she always wanted to learn to ride horses, so being the younger sibling, guess what I got to do too? Horse riding lessons for the person who didn't care at all. That's how it is to be a youngest sibling. Even a little bit more recently, I've had some friends that had some land and got horses because they enjoyed them, and it just never made a lot of sense to me, but to each their own, as always. Probably really not seeing what I'm doing much. I wonder if I can, let me try to zoom in a little bit on this area where I'm drawing. Hopefully that will help. But we'll just go for a little bit longer. We're already at an hour and a half. So we're getting to a longer stream for sure, but I do want to do a little bit more of this drawing, and then I'll do the transfer as this is almost dry. We'll set up the transfer print. Yep, flowers are not necessarily my strong suit, but I like the symbology of them, and I think it's fitting for this particular part of this piece. All right, a couple more jasmine, white jasmines, and then I think we'll say that's good enough. Probably if anybody is around that like knows flowers, they could definitely critique me on how well I'm doing any kind of representation. It's all right. And just maybe one more coming out to cross over with her arm. Be a little bit more from side angle for it. All right. I might tweak that a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. I think we're going to move on and do this. Okay, still a little wet right there. But over here is good. Okay, let's see. Where did I decide this was going? I think right about here. I'm going to make a couple little cuts where her hair is, so I don't want it to overlap with her head, just so I know where the edges are. Oh, duh, sorry. Let me pull out again. Forgetting what I'm doing. Sorry guys. Okay, and then how is this going to come off here? All right, so those are a couple cuts I'm going to make real quick. Scissors. Ha. So trim it to size. And then by having made those cuts, I can place it pretty well here. I know where it intersects these areas. All right, next, our gloss medium. And it really needs to be gloss. I don't think this works very well if you use matte. And I often, if I'm not thrilled with having the distinction of like the very matte coverage of the painting here, the watercolor is quite matte, most of this is quite matte, and if this turns out to be quite glossy, you can always put a little bit, once it's done, of matte medium just over that area when it's done. There is also a matte varnish spray that you could use on top of a piece like this, but I don't like to necessarily put any kind of varnish even in a spray over watercolor paper. I think it can affect how it turns out in the quality of the colors and such. So to avoid that happening, okay. So we'll start at the top here. We want a pretty thick application of the medium. And keep your edges a little irregular so that it just doesn't become just straight edges, like those straight edges of it from the paper can definitely have a weird effect once you take it up, if it's too regular. Okay, so trying to follow along here. And then once we have it on, there's There's our bird. We definitely want that to come out clearly because that's the whole point. Of this, doing this at all. And I definitely don't want to do with this what I do with my collage elements and like put a layer on top. That'll kind of seal it in, and we don't. We want to be able to remove this paper, which is not the easiest task. It's a little bit of time and very gentle working, but definitely doable. So I'm just continuing to follow along where my shape is. Coming down. Making sure I have nice thick. Thick. That I'm not missing any sections. I mean, the medium is clear, so if you cover up anything extra, it will dry clear, so you don't really have to worry about that. If you have it anywhere that you don't ultimately need it. Oh. Okay. Put things in place. I have the bottom. Let me see. Make sure I got it all the way down to the bottom. Okay. So I've got pretty good coverage there. I'm going to actually, I have a brayer someplace. There it is. Yes, I break everything. And I'm going to kind of gently, let me use, actually I'm going to put a piece of tissue paper underneath this while I do it, so it doesn't stick. So I don't get the glue all over the brayer and have that spread glue where I don't want it. Okay, so we're gonna there's my cat. Hey, Watson. What am I doing, huh? What's that weird sound? Okay. So I really press that in there. And I have a weird edge where some of this this medium got squeezed out, so I'm just going to kind of pull that up. Don't need that there. And now it's gonna be all about letting this dry here really well. And then once it's really dried and set, very gently remove it with damp rag. And yeah, that'll be the thing next time. So next time, might even be able to finish this piece in the next stream. So finish adding we'll reveal the print. I'll finish the texture in the snake. We can add this guy on here. And then I will, I might tweak the drawing a little bit before next time here, but then I will either ink or paint pen this area in. I think I might just do ink. And at that point, we'll see. It should be pretty close to done. It might just be a little bit of fussing, but that might be about it. Okay, awesome. Yay, made some progress. And back here Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, to see the reveal. And I hope you guys will join me then. And thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. Hopefully you've got some creative juices flowing to get through the rest of the week on a good note. And I will see you guys soon. All right, have a great day. Enjoy the beautiful weather. I hope that where you are, weather is beautiful too. Bye.